Hey guys, hi again. Second time today. Ben Labadie here with Alysson Storey for our second conversation. We've already did a Facebook Live very early in the campaign, before everybody was announced. And you're here again, so thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for having me as well, Ben. It's great to be back. You might remember I had laryngitis
Yes.
last time we talked. So I hope I can communicate a little louder and more clearly this time.
Good stuff. And I think we were at your office, and it was that night. We weren't really prepared, and it was a little darker, so we got like bright lights right on us.
You can see in my glasses.
Yes.
A nice bright.
So, hey, if you guys are just checking in, I just want to tell you, tomorrow we have Art Sterling, Karen Kirkwood-White, and Chris June all running for council. They'll be live tomorrow, and today we're going to be talking with you. Okay, so hit the share button, hit the like button. Do not be scared, okay? Don't be scared to ask questions. That's why they're here, and it's really for your benefit to ask questions and participate and engage. And these are rare opportunities that we've ever had in politics or campaigns where we can communicate directly with these candidates rather than just watching on a little blurb in a newspaper or a debate, which is kind of catchy questions. So please participate, ask questions, and we'll get started with, how is the campaign going for you?
Well, it's going really well. I announced the first day right out of the gate on May 1st, and it has been non-stop since then. I just finished my full-time role at the Chatham-Kent Hospice last week. I was covering a maternity leave. So that wrapped up. So now I am literally on the campaign trail pretty much 24/7, which is really exciting. Of course, we're less than 2.5 months away from the election, and less than 2 months from when online voting starts. So it's going to go by in a blink of an eye.
So when does the online voting start?
Yes, so there was a candidate information session last week, and a lot of the candidates were there. It was great to see that turnout. The online voting, which I'm sure a lot of us, if you're watching on Facebook, you're online, October 1st to 14th is online voting. And you'll be getting a voter information card in the mail with your details on that. We went through how it's done. It looks very user-friendly, so I'm hoping that is the case. And if you don't have a voter information card in the mail to you, don't panic. You can go to any municipal center across Chatham-Kent and get the information you need to register. Advance polling. So if you don't vote online between October 1st and 14th, there's still 2 more opportunities. October 11th to 13th is advance polls, which means you can go to your polling station in person and vote. And then, last but not least, October 22nd is the voting day. So that's when you go to your polling station in your ward. Actually, sorry, you can vote in anywhere for your ward. So if you're not in Ward 6 on voting day, you live in Ward 6, but you might be in Ward 2, you can go to Ward 2 and vote for Ward 6. So any municipal center, any place that you have your polling station, you can vote. You gotta vote for your ward where you live, but you don't need to be in your ward to vote that day, if that makes sense. So that's very crucial information. That's all on the website, on my website. It's timeforck.com, and the municipal website, chathamkent.ca.
And you'll post your website on this after so people can kind of see that.
Yeah.
So there's really no excuse to not get out and vote.
Exactly.
It's very easy. I'll say hi to a couple of people. Hi Terry, hi Liz, best of luck to all the candidates running. Hi Rose, how are you?
Thank you, Rose. Talented artist in our community.
Yes, and she just had an art show over the weekend, which was, I heard great stuff about. So, what are you hearing on the trail? Like, what's complaints, any challenges that people have for you?
You know what? We've gotten a lot of good feedback. We have a community survey up on our website that's been up since May and getting hundreds of responses from folks all across Chatham-Kent. We've been going door to door across Chatham-Kent. We started that last week. And you know what I'm hearing, and my team is hearing so strongly, is change. Change, change, change. People are really eager, I would say sometimes almost fed up, but people really want change, and not just sort of a shuffling of the same faces around the table, but new faces, new vision, some fresh blood in there. And so that's very, very strong. I'm also hearing and this may not be a surprise to anyone, but a lot of folks that I'm talking to outside of Chatham really feel strongly that their voices are not being heard in Chatham. So folks, in Blenheim and Ridgetown and Dresden and Tilbury, there's still a very strong concern that the cities, so the towns and communities outside of Chatham are having a tough time with their voices heard. And that I have been hearing no matter what community I visit, that's coming through loud and clear. And that's something that I have a plan for on my platform, to how we can work together to make sure that changes for the next 4 years.
Okay, when people say change, every election we hear change, okay? And people say change for many reasons. Is there any specific change other than new faces? Is there anything that people want as change that you could define?
Yes, that's a very good point, because change can mean something different to every single one of us, right? A lot of people that I've talked to, and I share this concern, is the lack of transparency and communication about issues facing our communities. We don't use our communications tools, I think, as well as we could. Our municipal website, I apologize to be blunt, but it's not very user friendly, and it's definitely something that we need to work on. I don't think we use our communication, like our social media tools, effectively as we should. And if I was elected, I already use those all the time in my own business, throughout my campaign. That kind of communication, a lot of folks don't feel that they have an easy way to reach people, get the information they need, and I would be changing all of that. We need to get better at communicating, because we shouldn't expect everyone to come to Chatham or have easy access to our municipal centers. We've got to come to them. There's no excuse now to not be able to communicate very easily, very effectively with all of our citizens across Chatham-Kent, whether you were in Bothwell or Blenheim or Wheatley or Wallaceburg or anywhere in between. We need to change how we communicate with people and make sure that they're informed and up to date about what is happening, because I don't feel like that's happening as well as it should be right now.
Okay, so let's say hi to a bunch of people here. We got Larry Valenga, Jeffrey Komsky. Well, Larry's going to be on soon.
Oh, good.
Hi, Melissa. Hey, Ben. Love you're interviewing the kids. And this is the whole idea is to engage the community. Jana Thompson, a fellow realtor, she wants some change. Margie put the website to find if you're on the electorate.
Yes, that's a great one. Thank you, Margie.
And Komisky, Jeff, hey buddy. Out of Chatham, feeling left out is an old problem. Like that's been a problem for a while.
Oh yeah,
now,
absolutely.
When they say, now I'm from Ward 6, okay?
Yep.
And I've heard for the last 20 years that everybody over here feels left out, and then we feel we get everything, and everybody feels Chatham gets everything. What specifically are they feeling left out on?
Well, I think generally speaking, it's decision making. I'm hearing that people don't feel that they have a voice at the table when they need to. So I think sometimes they feel like right now infrastructure is a big concern. Mm-hmm. And I know infrastructure is not exciting and not sexy and the bright and shiny things people talk about in elections, but it's a legitimate issue in Chatham-Kent. If you live in Chatham, you know that 3rd Street Bridge is emergency closed this week, and we're not sure for how long. That's a major infrastructure issue, as was the 5th Street Bridge. We know how long that took. We have New Scotland Line in South Kent has been closed, will be closed I think till October, November, which in the busiest season of the year, we can't get between two of our busiest tourist sites. Mm-hmm. So it's, our infrastructure, that's what our farmers and our ag sector need to get their product to market. We need to start focusing on and prioritizing these issues. So that's the thing where, and I grew up and I live in Ward 6 most of the year, and that's where I will be voting when I go to vote on October 22nd. But we need to realize that there's a lot of infrastructure outside of Chatham-Kent proper that when you live in Chatham, you may not realize how important bridges and culverts are to folks who aren't in Chatham. And when we don't have that information sharing, I don't think that can be a roadblock for understanding why folks are feeling left out in other communities when they see a road hasn't been paved in 15 years, or they haven't seen a police officer drive down their road in X many years.
Might mean they're in a good, safe area.
That's true too. Now, I would hope that would be the case, but in terms of infrastructure, that's a big one. I'm hearing that folks, that resource is not being utilized as well as it should be.
Okay, and we got Quentin Solomon. What are you going to do to help the situation? I think he was referring back to bringing people together. Correct me if I'm wrong, Quentin, but being the voice. How do you do that? How do you, other than provide more information, how do you make people actually feel their voice is heard? Because again, every election, you get the same people saying, well, this is a problem, which
Absolutely.
It always is.
Yep.
And continues to be, obviously, if that's what you're hearing. But nobody's ever solved the problem. Everybody said, what makes you different?
Absolutely. And that's a great question, because we've all heard it, I'm sure. And what I've been looking at is because, as we all know, and I mean, I love Chatham-Kent, and I know we're unique. But we're unique in more ways than one, and one of which is how we were amalgamated back in 1998. And that created a municipal governance structure that is not seen literally anywhere else in Ontario to the scale it was done here. And it's telling that after they amalgamated us in 98, they never amalgamated another community the same way. So, rightly or wrongly, that's done. We can't, unfortunately, we can't change it whether we want to or not, is a whole other kettle of fish, but we can work to improve the divisions that seem to exist now. And one of those ways is through a community action council, and I may wordsmith the name of it, but for intents purposes tonight, this is a big part of my platform that I'll be rolling out this week and next, is community action councils that have stakeholders from each community, ideally with a councillor rep and a staff rep attached to them, where you can where we come together, and ideally the mayor as well, would be sitting down at whether it's monthly or quarterly or annually, that would be determined, but sit down together and address important issues in that community. Because things that are facing, you know, Orford and Highgate may not be the same as issues facing Ward 6 in Chatham. And things that might be facing folks in West Kent and Tilbury and Merlin may not be the same as folks up in Bothwell. So this way, we have a group of people who are directly invested in what's going on, can help represent their community's interests, and those voices have a direct line to municipal staff at City Hall and get those issues on the front burner as opposed to the back burner.
All right. So let's go through here. Agree about our communication. Megan, they have to vote stronger candidates in their wards, I think. Good one. What is your platform, and if elected, how do you plan to achieve it? From Mary Ellen Herder.
Yes. Well, hi, Mary Ellen. Good to hear from you. I'm actually rolling out my platform this week and next, and I want to talk about some of it tonight, but I want to have a little bit more that I will be putting out in more detail on my website.
So we get a sneak peek of the platform?
We're going to sneak peek tonight. Woo-hoo. But I'll put it in more detail so folks can read it instead of sort of hearing it just verbally tonight. I want folks to be able to actually look at it, read it, print it out, comment on it, get feedback, let me know what you think. But the community action councils is a big one to make sure we have our voices heard and have folks, especially in the outlying communities, feel engaged and informed. It's going to be a two-way street. That model is already working quite effectively in several other communities that are amalgamated in Ontario, including Sudbury, which is the closest community I could find that was amalgamated and is a similar population and rural-urban makeup. What did I say? Urban, rural-urban makeup. And so it's not exactly the same. It's the closest that we've got to what we're doing in Chatham-Kent. So that'll be rolling out. I would like to have more. I will be, as mayor, having office hours in every community, probably in every municipal center, but I want to be coming to you because not everyone has accessible transportation to get to Chatham when they need to. So on set dates that will be communicated and publicized widely, I will be, as mayor, if elected, in each of those communities talking to people. You can bring your interests and your issues to me and vice versa. So I will come to you. That's very important. I want to bump up and really ramp up our communication tools that we're using. to share information in both directions.
Like Facebook Lives with me?
Like Facebook Lives. Maybe there'll be a mayoral Facebook Live every month, things like that. I mean, we joke, but they're really effective. And in this day and age, when we have these technologies at our disposal, and right now they're essentially free, why aren't we using them to their full effect? There's no excuse right now to not be using those. And a piece of that, of course, is accessibility, which to me is both the hardcore accessibility. So in practice, the things like transportation is a big one. We need to work on improving that in Chatham-Kent, whether it's looking at ride sharing or tweaking our routes for making our current transit routes a little more responsive in terms of timing and scheduling to different locations. And also the technology that we use for accessibility. I know we have Bell and Tech Savvy working on getting more fiber across Chatham-Kent, which is fantastic. We need to roll that out across Chatham-Kent. And we have to work on how we can partner with the private sector to make that happen, because we can't expect to attract and retain young professionals and create more jobs in Chatham-Kent, which is huge. That is absolutely crucial if we're going to turn our population decline around. But we can't attract anyone without high-speed internet and reliable cell phone service. I spend half the year in South Kent. I can't get a cell phone signal half the time, and I have no access to the internet, which for me makes me twitch because I use the internet for my business. So that is problematic. And then last but not least, I would like to set up a task force for our water issues in North Kent. I want to figure out what we can do to help them, get the right people around the table, and we have to talk about the role that our municipality has in those decisions, and if those were the right decisions, and if right now our own municipality, based on our role as such a large investor, is directly opposing our own citizens. I want to dig a lot deeper into that and see how we can fix that, because right now we basically have our own municipal government against our own citizens, and that to me is not acceptable.
That's kind of crazy. Okay, let's see here. Hey, Dawn. Dawn is going to be on shortly.
Oh, good.
Next week, actually. What are your thoughts from Tiffany? What are your thoughts on housing in CK? In other words, social housing. And hi, Amy Dalton.
Hi, Amy Dalton.
Okay.
Social housing is an issue that I am still learning about, I will admit, but I have had actually, I'm glad you raised that, because that's something that I've heard from different sectors and different communities, and clearly it's an issue that we need to address. I believe that affordable housing should be a basic human right, and while our real estate values, and Ben can speak to this much better than I can, they are increasing, we need to do that in a sensible manner, because we want to make sure that the most vulnerable in our society are not left behind when we're looking at real estate and affordable housing in Chatham-Kent. We have the space. It's not the issue of a place like Toronto where you got to build up, like you're building the density in downtowns are something that we don't have an issue with that. So we've got the space, but it's a question of we need to see the data. We need to see the data of how many folks are looking for affordable housing, how many need it, what are in each community, because this goes back to something I said earlier about the sharing of data. Right now, the data, at least to the general public, is not accessible about drilling down to each community. I've had several folks in Blenheim approach me with their concerns about affordable housing in Blenheim, and I can't find the information on it. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some issues right now with municipal election rules. You aren't allowed to approach municipal staff, and I understand that. But in general, we need to make sure that you need to be able to drill down. Okay, what's the situation in Ridgetown? What's the situation in Wallaceburg? What's the situation in Blenheim? Because they may not all be the same, and we can't take a blanket approach to each community. So social housing is one thing that I am definitely on a learning curve for. I will be fully upfront, but it's something I am learning more about. And please reach out to me with your thoughts, because it's one that's definitely becoming more and more prevalent. And we can't, again, if we want to welcome young professionals and young families to move to Chatham-Kent, we have to make sure they have a reasonable place they can afford to live. These are all part and parcel of the same puzzle.
Awesome. Hey, I see over 20 of you, 30 at one point. Hit that share button. It's very easy to do. Just hit it. Hit the share button. Hit the like button. Hey, if you guys have any fun questions you want to ask Alysson,
sure,
throw them out there. Because that's always fun. Again, the whole idea: how do we get to know the candidates more and learn about them to see if we connect with them? And this is a chance for you guys to do that. Quentin, how you doing? Again, another question. What is your business, if you don't mind me asking?
I do not mind, Quentin. Thanks for the question. I actually, for the last several years, have had my own small business that provides communication services to local businesses, actually businesses in Chatham-Kent and beyond, how to communicate effectively, primarily via social media. So how to set up Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram, how to use these social media tools effectively to grow your business and to communicate your message to a wider audience. So anything from media relations, website content, anything that sort of is in the umbrella of communicating who you are and what you do and what your product is, that's what I do. And I was just with the Chatham-Kent Hospice for the past year doing that very thing. And as I mentioned earlier, I just finished up with them last week. But that's, I love helping folks tell their story, both locally and more broadly, and that's what I would like, that kind of clear communication I want to take into my role if I'm elected.
And in watching your campaign, I'm watching everybody's campaigns, you do use pretty much the most social media that I've seen out of everybody for video-wise. I mean, there's social media going on with everybody, but for videos...
it's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's a great tool.
Let's see here, Dawn. What are your thoughts on the downtown condo project? Okay, that'll be fun.
Well...
Did you just get hit with a bug?
It just flew at me.
Haha.
It's all right.
Okay, so what is your opinion on, your thoughts on this downtown condo project that's going to be the oldest project ever to be new?
You know, that's a good question. I would really like that project, to see that project finished. I think I lived in Toronto for several years, and I saw condos go up a whole lot faster than this one has, and I worry about the effect that delayed construction has had on our downtown. I think if you spend any time in downtown Chatham, that has hurt some downtown businesses, and that's not really fair to them. Anyone who invests in our downtowns should be welcome and supported, and that includes someone who's building a condo, because that's a huge investment in our downtown, and when it's finished, could bring hundreds, if not thousands of people to our downtown core, which any downtown would welcome. My concern is there hasn't been a lot of, again, transparency communication. I have not felt there's been a strong communication about that project with our community. What's happening? Why is it taking the length of time it is? And is there anything we can do to help move that along? Is there anything we can do to help our downtown businesses who are struggling because, you know, we had a lane closed, we had no parking. I mean, the coffee shop next door, unfortunately, sort of suffered quite a dramatic closing not too long after that. So I'd like to see it done. I'd like to see it done. I'd like to see people living in it, spending their money, investing in our downtown. But I really feel like I'll be the first person to say, let's please finish this project as soon as reasonably possible.
Awesome. Okay, so let's see here. Ryan Jackson, sorry I'm late. Hi, Alysson. Didn't say hi to me, Ryan. Ryan's gonna be running for. Ryan, you're running for council, right?
Better be nice, Ryan. He's got videos.
Yeah. Cheryl Faubert. Hi, Ben and Alysson. Rick, it's our time. I think Rick's on your team. Okay, so onto the condo thing. When I get a lot of calls. People actually can't wait for the condos to be finished so they can move in.
Absolutely.
So
it's a great location.
From a real estate standpoint, people are actually excited. I've had tons of calls over a period of time of people saying, "Hey, when are those going to be done?" And they were actually, some of them were waiting. You know, should they sell their house and buy later at this condo? And I don't know if they're renting or selling. Hey, Shelley, how are you? Let's move on to the rail. Okay, so it's been in the news about the rail, try to recoup costs, something to do with it. My great idea is make it the Great Ontario Marathon Trail because it's 26.2 miles and the exact distance for a marathon. What can we do with it? Okay, what can we do with that? Okay, I want to turn it into a trail. Maybe not everybody wants to do that, but we already have it.
Yes, we do. I'm disappointed by how that issue was handled. I think we did not do our due diligence on that project. If we were looking, I can appreciate putting the pieces in place to attract investment. I think that's important. But you also need to make sure that we have the zoning and the proper regulation in place to even welcome that investment, and that clearly didn't appear to be done in this case. So that being said, mistakes are made, and now we need to figure out how to fix it and cut our losses. And right now, I think the best thing we can do is move on, sell what we can sell, get what money, if there's any money left to be made from it for the taxpayer to recoup some of the loss. I think we absolutely should do it. I don't think we really can afford to waste any more time just sort of waiting for someone to approach us. I think if that was going to happen, it would have already happened. Mm-hmm. So I am all for, again, suggestions from the community on what can be done with that. And we have a great trail system being established in Chatham-Kent right now. The Trails Committee has done some fantastic work across Chatham-Kent.
But this would be the greatest trail.
Oh, the greatest. Well, I mean, there might be some debate on which trail is the greatest in Chatham-Kent, and I'd love to hear
it's the one that would connect Chatham, Dresden, and Wallaceburg, so we can get the voices from the people on the outside.
That's pretty great.
And kind of combine, and they could have starting points. So you can do the whole thing over a period of time and have it start in Wallaceburg, Dresden, or Chatham. Community building, people.
That's absolutely true. And Ben is a great fitness buff, and he's been helping get people healthy in our community for years now. And we need to get more active. We need to get out there and do a little more. I mean, I'm guilty as charged too. But any opportunities that we can reasonably put in place for our citizens to get more active, get out there and run and bike and hike, I'm all for it. I mean, I need to see the plans and how that would work, but I think helping link up communities and making more, we've got such great trails already, why not build into that for sure?
Okay, here's a good one. Melissa Ann, I believe Melissa is running. Melissa, what ward are you running in? I believe you're running in something. Shelley Arnold, Ben and I just reestablished that we sat on the Mayor's Youth Council back in the day. So I did sit on the Mayor's Youth Council when Diane Gagne was there, and so did Melissa, and Shelley Arnold was a part of that as well. Would you ever think of bringing back something like that? Because that was kind of exciting. I like politics. I like my kids in understanding politics and understanding people, and I think it's always, and I think one of the big things we accomplished was the skate parks throughout the community, which had tons of backlash, but they work out well. But would you bring back something like the Mayor's Youth Council where they actually sat around the horseshoe, and it was really fun? Actually, it was quite exciting. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is a fantastic idea. I think that the committee that was just announced last week, it's got a sort of a mouthful, CK to the Power of Youth.
Yep.
I believe it's the official title, which is going to do, from what I can tell reading the basics that I've seen, is a similar approach. Because we absolutely, we need to rejuvenate something like that. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure why it fizzled out. I'd love to learn more about what happened there, because we want to make sure if there was a reason why it folded, I want to make sure we address that so it doesn't happen again.
Probably because I was too old for it. They didn't want it.
Oh, did you age out of it?
I did.
That could be.
I think I was 24 at the time. So we're talking 15 years ago. I'm old.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
Yeah.
But I think, the voices of our youth, I guess I'm not that young anymore either, but I think that we absolutely need to have a voice for our younger citizens, both young adults, young professionals, because they aren't going to come back to our community if they don't feel heard and engaged. I've got lots of friends who have kids in their teens and 20s, And we're getting some reasoning now, but they're not feeling heard again because we're not reaching them and using the tools that they use.
Right.
And we need to do better at that. And I hope that a group like this, CK to the Power of Youth, is one way that we can engage them and hear exactly from them, because it's easy for me to say, well, everyone loves social media, but there's still tools that different demographics use more than others, and I don't want to tell them what to use because that's not how it works. They need to tell us. Are they on Snapchat? Are they on Instagram? Etc., etc. If that's what see, I'm already sounding older on it. If that's what people who are using these tools, that's how they want to be communicated with.
Right.
That's where we have to reach them. So I'm glad to see that community going. Kudos. I know Evan Rogers was part of that. To everyone involved with getting that group started again, I'm thrilled to see it. If I was elected, I would be, one of my first orders of business would be to meet with them and hear what they have to say. Because we are, again, not to sound like a broken record, but we must attract and retain young people in Chatham-Kent, or else we're in big trouble. So having a voice for them through this kind of group is a great first step.
Awesome. So Jeff Komisky, yes, my walking man. So Jeff, I actually seen a picture of you guys out walking this morning, and you look skinnier, my friend.
Nicely done, babe.
He's killing it. Pat Burrows, hi. So Melissa Ann is running in Ward 1. And
Excellent.
I believe Kirk Hooker, who's going to ask you a question here, what's your thoughts on the John D. Bradley Center building losing money every week? He's running in Ward 6, I believe, Kirk is. So we got this big John D. Bradley Center, and it's losing money every week. Talk to me. What's your thoughts?
The Bradley Center is an example, I think, of where we thought big and we didn't necessarily do all the homework we needed to do. And we've seen that with a few projects, and I'm worried that we're going to see it again with a few more. But it's built, and it's something that is in our community. And I've been to events there, and I've actually, of all sizes and shapes, and I think it's a great facility. I am worried, Kirk, about the financials there. I'm also not thrilled with the fact that those financials and the details are not accessible to our citizens. I think with minus any confidential information relating to salaries and things that are, that cannot be released publicly, I think we should be able to see those numbers and exactly what the issues are, because we can't address them if we don't know what they are. So the fact that it is losing money is a concern. I'd like to see I'd like to see the books on that, quite frankly, and see what the problems are. Large facilities like that, though, often don't make money.
Right.
So we have to be cognizant of that fact that, I don't think, and convention center operations is not my area of expertise, but I would like to know if there are examples of convention centers our size turning a significant profit. I would be interested to see what they're doing to make that happen. But again, more transparency in operations of that, how we can help. If there are areas that we can be improved, let's improve them. The staff at the Bradley Center are great. I've worked with them with a lot of Rotary events, with our hospice events. I have no complaints with the folks who are running it now. They're doing a great job. But there's also issues about our catchment area, and it's a large facility. Mm-hmm. It's a large facility.
Why don't we fast forward until this casino is built?
Right.
Let's look at that, convention center after the completion of a casino, and I believe there's going to be more opportunity. You got a hotel, you got a large convention center, and you got a casino as a draw, and now you can run more events because you have more options outside of the event that people can enjoy. What are your thoughts if we were to fast forward today and that casino is built? What do you think of that?
Well, I think having more activity in that area, like at the corner of Kyle and Richmond there, I think that's a good thing. Again, we have not seen a whole lot of a strong business plan on how those two would work together. I mean, I'm not an avid casino goer, but usually folks, when they go to the casino, they don't go many other places. So I'm not convinced yet. I'd like to see the business plan. I suspect that a casino in Chatham will likely draw folks from Chatham-Kent, and I'm not certain that it will be a huge draw outside of the community. I would like to be proven wrong, But with larger casinos within an easy 40-minute drive of Chatham, I'd like to know what those plans are. I know just in the last couple of days, the Chatham Daily News and London Free Press did an article about gateway casinos and how, again, there's a little bit of secrecy on how those are being funded and what their operating plans are, and how much money is actually going back to the communities that host them. So I'd like to see a little more detail on that, but in principle, having more activity and having more people and more businesses in that area of Chatham is a good thing, because that can be a critical mass of business in one place, which tends to drive other business. I know when Navistar was in that area, a lot of businesses popped up around it to serve that facility, and this could be the same thing. I hope we see more of that, but again, we're going to have to see that built and operating and see how those numbers shake out.
I hope they're going to do well.
I do too.
Well, jobs are the number one thing there as well. Plus, a lot of the things, and I see Liz Orzic, another example of thinking too big on the part of C. I don't think CK's ever thought too big myself. I don't see where we've put out that we don't take risks. I think we should have had a casino years ago. Instead of being behind, I think we should have had a sports complex years ago. I think all the things that we should have had years ago are the things that people did do years ago, and those populations in those areas have increased, right, with all that development. Let's see here, and I am a big casino goer anyway, so I'm always going to be like pro casino.
That's fine. Yeah.
But so let's see here. Where's the casino? So what is your thoughts? What Liz said. Where's the casino an example of Chatham Kent thinking too big?
Liz, I hear what you're saying, and I think there is some merit to that comment. And I hear what you're saying too, Ben. There is a difference between thinking big and taking risks and not doing your homework. And my concern is that when we have potential projects, whether they're theaters or rail lines or convention centers or casinos or athletic complexes, we need to do our homework first. I am a huge fan of thinking big. I mean, I took on a project to change an entire provincial government's policy on highway safety and succeeded. So when I was told that there's no way we'd get highway barriers, and we're going to get them. So I'm all for thinking big and taking risks and reaching out and pushing for things that I believe in or that we believe in. But I also believe in doing your homework and doing your research. And if the due diligence is done and you think that it still makes sense from a financial standpoint and a logistical standpoint and a resource standpoint, absolutely, let's do it. Where my concern is that we're not doing that when we should be. And that gets us into trouble financially. And that puts a pretty big yoke around the neck of taxpayers for years and years and years down the road for things we're still paying for. So let's think big, no question. But let's think big with a reasonable, you don't just sort of go blindly into things. You need to do your homework. And even, I think you'd think of any other large project in other communities where they're thinking big, they've done their homework. And that gives you the foundation to do it well and to do it right and to be a success. Without that, we get into trouble that we've seen with other projects municipally.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to wrap up just shortly here. So if you have another question, if you got a fun question, throw it in there. If you want to know what kind of beer or wine she drinks, she might tell you. I don't know. Let's go with a little different one here. I know a lot of people talk about the size of council. Now we have 17 members of council plus the mayor. As I've heard, I haven't really gone into further detail, but Doug Ford wanted to reduce council in Toronto from 44 to like 24 or 23. What are your thoughts on reducing the size of council locally here in Chatham-Kent, where we got 17 people?
Well, that has come up. You know what? I have not heard that in my conversations, but I know it's been talked about almost every council session since amalgamation. And there have been stakeholder groups struck and committees to talk about this, and each time I think they recommended moving to 10 councillors in more of a pie-shaped representation, and you can go online, I think, and still see these reports to council. But so there's rural and urban representation in each ward, as opposed to wards that are almost entirely rural, or like Ward 6 is entirely urban with Chatham, and so it actually gives you a more balanced representation. It's not a pie-shaped specifically, but that's the best approximation of how that would look. And council's voted it down every time. So, and I am not against reducing council, but that's something that we would have to go to our community about. Is that something that's still a pressing issue for our citizens? If it is, let's look at it. All that work's been done, so we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. If that's something that people feel strongly about, the role of mayor and council is to listen to their constituents, and if that's a strong message that people are really concerned about the size of our council, let's look at it. But ever since we brought that forward, it's been voted down every time, so I'm not sure it's an issue that I'm hearing in this election. The concern I have with what happened in Toronto is that it was done in the middle of an election. I'm not against the concept per se, but it sets a very dangerous precedent for a premier to insert himself or herself in an active election. That's like saying, okay, we're going to just eliminate Ward 6 and all. I think there's like 20 or 30 people running in Ward 6, and all of them who've already started campaigning, soliciting donations and fundraising and having activities, they just vanish. I think doing that in the middle of an election is irresponsible. I don't support that. I support citizens being heard and looking at council makeup, but to do it in the middle of an election when candidates have already been running and been campaigning, I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Awesome. Okay, hit that share button. Hit the. If you guys are going to be watching on the replay, don't be scared to put in a question or anything like that. And if you have any questions, fun questions, what is your favorite beer?
Oh my gosh, what is my favorite beer?
I'll start the fun questions so we can wrap this up on a fun note.
Well, I am thrilled that we have 2 breweries in Chatham-Kent now. I love that the cherry beer that Bayside had during the Cherry Fest. That was pretty tasty. I'm a big fan of the Berry White at Sons of Kent. I know we have, I think, 1 or 2 more breweries that are smaller in scale but are just up and coming, so I'm very excited to learn more about them and to sample what they are making. I grew up in Chatham-Kent. I like beer. We're so fortunate to have 2 local breweries and probably 2 more that are up and coming.
There we go. We lost it for a second.
But so kudos again, small business owners in Chatham-Kent investing local. I'm thrilled. Now wines. I lived in Italy for several years, so wine is also something that I enjoy responsibly. And again, thrilled to have a local winery in Chatham-Kent with Early Acres. The Corpens do a fabulous job, so I support them locally. But my second favorite are Italian wines, because I used to live there and it just reminds me of the time I spent there. But I think we're in the breadbasket of Ontario, if not Canada, and our opportunities for craft brewing, for local wines, and even for distilleries, I think is huge, and we should be looking at expanding that if we can. I would be the first in line.
Awesome. Okay, so one last question, and if you could answer it in an actual way that people could kind of understand that it would be real, is how would you bring more people in for jobs? How would you actually attract jobs and population growth? Because you need, number one, skilled workers. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've lost a lot of skilled workers. That's the big portion of the declining population.
Yeah.
Is there one specific way that you could explain that people would understand how you would do that?
Well, I think I would suggest maybe that we have another Facebook Live just on that subject, with whoever, mm-hmm. But that is such an important question that we've struggled to answer, because our population keeps declining, and we lost 8,000 manufacturing jobs in the last 8 years. That is a staggering number. And a lot of those jobs are not coming back. We need to be realistic about our economy is changing. And so for me, I want to ideally set up an effective community group that can talk to our local business. Because my strong preference and what I will be focusing on if I was elected would be to talk to local businesses and focus on supporting local businesses and getting rid of the roadblocks for them to be successful, because they're already invested here. They already live here, they're already working here, they're already hiring they're hiring employees here. The local business in Chatham-Kent is strong, but we need to pay closer attention to them and help them be successful. So that, to me, I mean, we're going to have to start from square one. I really think so. So that is me and folks on council, folks in AcDev, talking to as many local businesses across Chatham-Kent as possible and hear from them directly. What do you need to be successful? Are we in your way? Should we get out of the way? What can we do to help you? And that's the first step. And I mean, that's a very general way of describing it, but we literally, I believe, have to start with square one, because what's happening right now is we're struggling. Our population is shrinking. Our job loss is not going in the direction we want. We have young people leaving at almost 3 times the rate of the province. And that's a trifecta that we need to stop in its tracks. And I think that needs a fresh approach, and one that we need to start thinking about new faces and new people, new vision, getting that rolling. And secondly, I'd also like to think about how we get more investment from satellite businesses in the GTA. So businesses in the GTA that are looking to expand or open satellite offices, attract them to Chatham-Kent, where the real estate is much more reasonable, the quality of life is fantastic. I've heard from a few companies of colleagues and friends in the GTA who are looking to expand but don't want to do it in Toronto because their staff, their employees, are struggling to make a living there. And what a great opportunity, because the GTA, the Golden Horseshoe, is 3 hours or less from here, with a more robust fiber system for broadband, internet. Folks can work from home for these different companies. But we've got to focus local. The 39 trips to China, I have not seen anything that shows that has been successful. And again, please prove me wrong if you have other information. But for what I have seen, that has not worked. It's time to focus local, get our local businesses healthy, because they are the ones that are going to be hiring and investing. And those are the folks that I want to put front and center for the next 4 years.
Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for us today, and hopefully we'll see you probably in another 30 days checking on your campaign.
Sounds
and
good.
We'll have a bunch of people more. Again, we'll have Dawn next week. We got Art Sterling tomorrow, Karen Kirkwood-White, and Chris June, and then a couple more people on Thursday. So I hope everybody liked this. Again, don't be scared to comment after, and I know you got a couple links that you want to put there after that people can review. And thanks everybody for watching, and thanks to everybody that hit that share button. Do not be scared to hit that share button now, because the whole idea is to get the word out, get people more engaged in politics so that we can have a greater voter turnout. We did see that in the provincial election. Our numbers in Chatham-Kent Leamington were huge compared to any other year. And we want to see that more than ever this time. And again, if you could also throw in the online voting dates, that would be awesome, so people can know. Because the more you know about all the opportunities to vote, the chances are you're going to take one of them, especially the easy online voting. So
please online vote.
So thank you, Alysson, and thank everybody for watching this. You guys really make this happen. So appreciate every one of you guys who tuned in, even for a couple seconds. Okay, thank you, and talk to you guys later.